Welcome back to Football Park. Today we're going to be talking about York City in the Vanarama National League, who are having a very, very good season. They are top of the league on goal difference, but they've got a game in hand. So they're going to be looking to push for promotion. Really, in seasons gone by, they've always been struggling for relegations. This has really come out of nowhere. Tom, has it been the home form this season that's really helped them?
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, they've just lost one all season at home, which is incredible. Away from home, they've been a little bit shaky, but they've won double the amount of points at home. I think they've won 34 points at home and 17 away. Obviously, they built a new stadium, I think, 3 seasons ago now. They used to play at Bootham Crescent, which was a proper old school non-league, sort of League Two ground, but their new ground's excellent, and I think the way that they've been playing there is superb under Adam Hinchelwood.
Yeah, it's pretty mad, that point difference. I think that's good though, because that's so sustainable. You can keep doing it at home. If they were struggling at home and doing well away, I'd be a bit more concerned. Jamie, who's been a standout for York City this season?
I think Ollie Pearce from Worthing. Both him and Joe Felix were both from Worthing actually last season, playing in that National League South last year. So to be able to kind of bring that from the league below, I think Ollie Pearce was top scorer by something like 15 goals. He's mental. And obviously Joe Felix, creative spark behind him. But he's doing it again in the National League. I think he's top scorer with 15 goals. And sort of that ability to step up from National League South to the National League. We've seen Wrexham, Chesterfield, Notts County, all of these sides that then bounce on again. This guy's doing it from the National League South. And I think that sort of signing, obviously Josh Stones as well now, real breaking feet. The fact that they've now got a backup to Ollie Pearce, who is Josh Stones, they've done some mental business.
Yeah, Pearce last season I think was 43 in the league, which is like 46 games, which is just absolutely mental. As you say, Joe Felix as well. I want to give him a big shout out. He's probably been their best player. He's a right back, but he's so versatile. He's such like a modern footballer because he can play in midfield or even out on the wing, but just with the ball, his passing in particular, almost Trent-like, not to get ahead of it.
Is he that good?
The non-league Trent.
The non-league Trent, he is so good. But yeah, you mentioned Josh Stones, who they've just signed. Ridiculous money, I think it's about 350k. But he's a striker as well, and they've already got Pitts, who's having a great season. Tom, where do you see him fitting in? Do you think he'll be a backup or?
Well, that's really difficult because when someone comes in for 350 grand in the non-league, they're not going to come in expecting to be a backup. I mean, we know Stones started. He's played, I think, 6 games for Oldham in the National League, and he got 6 goal contributions in those 6 games. I actually watched him in person on New Year's Day for Oldham, and he looked a handful. He's a big lad. He puts himself about, but he's also quick. So that's probably something that York have looked at, and they've gone at 350k, 21 years old. If he has to be the backup for Pearce this year because Pearce is doing the business, he's someone that they're looking at with a view to be in League Two and sustain themselves in League Two, because this debate's been had so many times, but it's true that because of the way that the National League is with 2 up and then 2 down from League Two, there are so many teams that are struggling at the bottom of League Two that the top teams in the National League are far, far better than. So York will probably be looking at it and think to themselves, they've got a good young progressive manager in Adam Hinchelwood who, he's plied his trade at Worthing. He's got the connections there. He's brought very good players in with relationships. And they'll be looking to not just go up this year, but also, kick on when they get into League Two. Like we've seen with a number of teams. So I think that signing's definitely with that in mind, but also his added firepower is definitely something that's going to help them fire them into League Two, into the EFL, because it's so hard to get out of the National League now.
Yes. Stones, you could look at it as slightly premature, he's got 4 goals in 6 games, which is obviously good, but how much data do you have there? But he's only 21. I think, as you say, if they're pushing on to climb up the pyramid, signing young talent like that is going to be absolutely massive. Pearce is he's 29, I think, so he's not going to be around forever, and he's only just come up from the league below, so we don't know how he's going to fit in moving up into the sort of League Two. The other thing that York have been particularly strong with recently is their set pieces, especially corners. It's always Arsenal putting, interestingly, they score a lot of headers and they have good heading, but also it's often scrambles in the box. They'll put in a looping cross and then the defenses just can't really get rid of it, which, that's not expected in non-league sort of, and they just, someone like gets a foot to it and puts it away, which I think is a really good thing to have in your locker. They've sort of been scoring late, haven't they? You boys want to talk about that?
I feel like they've just been to say scoring late, like a lot of their goals do come in those last like 25, 30 minutes. But they are just scoring more than last season. I think we're just over halfway through the season now. Match day 25 is next up. They've got 48 goals. Last season, in 46 games, they had 55 goals. So obviously 15 of those 48 are Ollie Pearce.
Yeah.
Big part of it. But they've just got a lot of quality that has kind of risen the level of the whole team. And obviously, the more confidence you get seeing your team score, like the goals come from everywhere at that point. Like, there are very rarely teams who specialise, other than maybe a Stoke City. They don't just specialise in one area. Like, the goals are coming from everywhere because they're so confident that they can get a chance from a set piece, from anything really. Whereas obviously last year you only score like just over a goal a game. There isn't that same confidence. And a lot of these players, I mean, Tyree Sinclair from Rochdale, another huge signing. I know him personally. He was very unlucky with his injury last year, and I know that I actually interviewed him, and he wasn't sure where he was going to go after Rochdale. And obviously it was a free contract, but he couldn't have really gone to much of a better place. Like last year, York City didn't look good, 1 point off getting relegated. But to now be top of the league, like possibly 3 points clear of Forest Green after the next match day, you can't ask for much more than that, can you?
Yeah, nice little name drop from you there as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
No, I do really like Sinclair. Like, his finishing is unbelievable at times. The thing, like we said, with York City, like, it's their defense and their attack. I think they've conceded. They're on track to concede like half the goals they did last season, and like you say, they've almost scored as many goals as they did last season as well. Like, is there anything you can see derailing the season?
The only thing I would say is when you look at the teams around them, they probably have a little bit more National League nous and a bit more National League experience. When you look at their top performing players this season, York, a lot of them are players that are either playing their first or 1 or 2 years in the National League, or have come up through Worthing, through Hinchelwood, like the likes of Ollie Pearce. Another person I just wanted to touch on is Harrison Mail in goal, because he's another one who worked with Hinchelwood at Worthing. Obviously, he had that season at Dorking Wanderers last year, getting relegated, but he did play well, and they've kept the most clean sheets in the league. They've kept 10 clean sheets, and Mail is a very good shot stopper. He's not the biggest, but he's been impressive this season, and I think that that's been a key factor to their success. You mentioned late goals. I just wanted to touch on this because it's an incredible stat in my opinion. Their last 15 minutes of games, they've scored 17 times and conceded just 5. So their net positive is 12 goals in the last 15 minutes of games. And not only does that show team spirit and sort of confidence, but also fitness is something that's really important. And I think Hinchelwood is someone who is very obviously a modern coach, and he's going to work on fitness, and the facilities that York have got since their new owners have come in have certainly gone up to the next level, and things like fitness, they're not non-league level anymore, and that's where they want to get to. So I think that's another massive reason. But just to finish on what you said with derailing the season, I think, the lack of experience could be an issue, and I think going into January, yes, they've signed Josh Stones for big money, but I think potentially add 1 or 2 more experienced bodies in there that have been there, done that, maybe a few lads from League 2 that have been up before, just to put their arm around the lads if there is a few sort of poor performances in there, and they can, nick a 1-0 win or scrap a few points out, because they're going to need that realistically going into the run-in.
Yeah, I mean, they're out of both cups now. They lost in the FA Cup to Wickham earlier on in the season, and then just last game at the weekend, they lost in the FA Trophy to Gainsborough, which means obviously they're going to be able to focus on the league. Like you say, with the late goals, their average possession is 70%, which is third in the league. And I feel like in that respect, like, you just have to be patient with a team like that, and you will get the goal eventually, but perhaps it comes in the last 15 minutes, which I think someone might look at that as unsustainable, but I think when you're playing that style of football, it does work. It didn't work against Gainsborough, where they had loads of opportunities and didn't put many of them away. But, you know, it's a long season and they should be able to get through it.
Quickly, just to add to that, you said they're third with 70%. Like,
I know.
what? How can they? Like, I've got in front of me Rochdale on 80%, Barnet on 71%, Ebbsfleet on under 20%. Like, how are teams in? Like, how is there such a disparity on a totally separate point? How is there that level of?
Do you know what though? I'm not 100% how accurate that stat is.
To be fair, it's National League, isn't it?
Because if that's on FOTMob, which I think it might be, I think they only record stats for like 2 or 3 games potentially. So that might be why there's such a discrepancy. But I do know that York do dominate the ball, and Hinchelwood is a manager that, I mean, his son Jack plays for Brighton, so he's, you know, and he's ex-Brighton as well as a footballer. So he wants to get the ball down. He wants to play good football. They've got one of the better pitches in the league as well at their new ground. As you say, with football inside, it's really this sort of period, probably until the end of February, where there's more winter weather, there's more rain, there's poor pitches. They'll travel to places that don't have as good facilities, and they're going to play against teams that are going to just lump it long. But they have got the likes of Callum Howe as a centre-half, who is very physical as well. So I think they are well equipped. As I say, I just think maybe a couple more experienced faces in there, and, you know, not being as rigid in their style of play, because there is some games where, you know, the likes you mentioned, the Gainsborough game there, where it's probably not going to be a team that's going to just try and play you. They're going to sit in and maybe you have to go direct. I think Lionel John Lewis is still at the club, so, you know, he's a big lad who knows where the goal is. He needs to be their plan B, really.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I know I said against Gainsborough they had a lot of opportunities and scored, and they were passing it around a lot. But one thing I have been impressed by them this season is their adaptability. They're not scared of just hoofing it long, and they have. Pierce isn't big, but they have a lot of physical bodies up the pitch, and it works. They hoof it along, and especially again with National League defenders, they're gonna make mistakes. The pitch isn't always the best surface, and it often works, and they're not scared to just go route one. Anything else you lads think in particular stood out about this York side?
I'm just so impressed how halfway through the season, like, they were 1 point off of getting relegated, and the next season they are 7 goals off of their previous tally with 20 games to go. That is probably the biggest turnaround we've seen from a squad in, like, the English leagues for a while.
And I just think also it's testament to Adam Hinchelwood, because, you know, 7 years at Worthing, he's obviously a loyal man who has plied his trade. You know, he's done the hard yards. He's not been catapulted straight into a top job like we see. And he's had a pre-season with them. You know, yeah, he didn't do amazingly the back end of last season, but he's had a pre-season. He's clearly implemented his style, and it's worked, hasn't it, at the top of the league?
Definitely. Well, quickly, lads, yes or no, are they going up?
Absolutely, no doubt.
I think they'll go up through the playoffs, but I hope they do, because they deserve it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see them in the English Football League. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Make sure you drop a comment, like, subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys later.